Good afternoon, Realty Pros, and welcome back to another week of Realty Talk. And I actually had a question for Cremon, who is joining us today. Also, he was speaking about his recent open house and the process. He is on his way to settlement today. And he had shared a lot of experiences and learning that he went through in this process. And so I'm asking Kraman if he can just share with us again what the process was for him and all of the things. I mean, he learned so much through this process.
Yeah, well, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, it was a great learning experience having this open house, and I'm going to start with the open house because that's basically where I've learned the most and got the most out of what we were doing. And in regards to it, it was a condo, so there was a unique situation as I was sharing on how we had to market and how we had to set up for the open house. You know, one of the things that Mrs. Porter always says is it's not the market, it's the marketing. So one of the things that we had to really be mindful of were all the do's and don'ts that the condo association had placed that we had to follow. And so we couldn't put the signs out like you normally would do. We couldn't put a lot of information, a lot of things out on the condo grounds or in the, inside of the parameters of the condo. So what we had to do was we had to be very creative. And thanks to, as I said, Angela Skipper, who was very, very good. And we were able to put the balloons up. Couldn't put anything on them, but we were able to put the balloons up. And we had to put the signs outside of the parameter of the condo where people can kind of follow that. So they would be able to point towards to the condo, and then we had to let the balloons and different things kind of show people where to go. The other thing that was so unique about it was to be able to capture the information when people did actually come in to view the actual property. And to be able to, because a lot of people, they may not have been interested in that property, but we were able to capture the information to let them know that, hey, we have other properties that are available, whether it's a condo, a townhouse, a single family home, or the like. But whatever you were looking for, we can make it happen. We could serve you in that capacity. So it really made it very, very interesting to see not only how people responded, but also how the professionalism and the attention to detail that Angela and Darlene and all of us that came together and worked together on how we really set up the open house. It was more than just, hey, just let people come in and look around. You know, they had a lot of information that people could take with them. As I said, we captured a lot of their information. Showing the property was very, very important because we wanted to point out everything that was done to the property and the upgrades to really get people interested and to get feedback. And that was one of the major things as well, because not only did we capture information, we were able to get feedback. And even on our sheet, we had people write down what they liked, we can improve on, what they saw in regards to the property that really captured their attention. So when we call them back, and I've already been calling a lot of the people back, I can kind of remember, I have something that I can bring to their remembrance. I remember that you said this, that you like that. I remember you said that you may wanted maybe a little bit more room, a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom. Are you still interested in that? Because we have other properties that I would love to make you aware of. So it all came together. It was really beautiful. It was a lot of work. I'm not going to kid anyone, but it was well worth it. It was very well worth it. And we all came together. And I'll say one last thing. While we were there, and I thought this was so unique, while we were there and we were waiting for the traffic to come in, because sometimes we would have a lull in the traffic, we used that time to learn how to do other marketing, to learn how to do Facebook page, and to learn how to do a lot of the social media, which everyone knows that's not my forte. So I was able to not only have the open house, but we used it as a learning experience and to become better with our craft. So it was all the way around. It was an excellent situation. And again, we're going to closing today. So it's a great thing. So, and we got a full price offer. So that was always good too. So that was pretty much it.
Wow, that's great, Tremont. Good for you, and congratulations again. And that was great that you did it in a way that uh, asking full price was not too much. Someone was you had a buyer that was willing to go in at what you had listed the property for. So that's a great thing. Good for you, Cremon.
Oh, and if I could say one more thing, because this kind of speaks to something that you were talking about earlier, we got most of our offers at the last minute. We thought that we were going to go with one offer that wasn't a full price offer. It was a cash offer, but it wasn't full price. And so we were thinking, oh man, we didn't get as many offers as we thought, and we might have to go with this. And she really wanted a little bit more. And then all of a sudden, at the last minute, boom, 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 we were just getting offers and off, and it was almost as like when we said, okay, all offers had to be in on a certain day. And then as soon as that day came, we got flooded. And we had to expand it because for her to be able to even view all of the offers. So if you're kind of thinking that, hey, I haven't gotten an offer yet, this is taking a little bit longer, trust me, as it gets closer to the time that you're going to say all offers have to be in, you're going to get inundated. You're going to get inundated with offers. You're going to get better offers. As a matter of fact, the offer that we thought we were going to take, the cash offer, is not the offer we took. We took another offer that was a full listing price asking offer, but it was conventional. But it was a better offer. And so by waiting and by being a little bit patient and not just kind of jumping the gun, she was able to get exactly what she wanted. And that was the blessing in the whole thing. So
Wow.
I just wanted to throw that in there.
That is so good, Kermon. I wanna just dissect so many things that Kermon said today because we just want to encourage you guys in this area and so many other areas. And I heard Kermon, I heard so many layers in that testimony that you just shared. The very first one coming from the perspective of you started out with one marketing strategy and then you ended up having to go to a different marketing strategy. So for those of our Realty Pros, whether you're in a transaction now that may or may not be ready, that may or may not be going the way that you thought it was going to go, be encouraged because there's so many different changes and twists and turns that can happen in the midst of a transaction and even in your real estate career, but remain encouraged because when you do, in the end, it all works out. Mr. Porter, I know you had something that you wanted to share right there. I'm going to pause and let you jump in before I continue.
Good afternoon, Realty Pros. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So, Caramon is my brother, and I love him. And I'm really proud and excited to hear his great news. And it's so ironic that we started out this way this morning because, Jasmine and I and the leadership team, we talk about things that are going on in real estate and in the market and, just things that we need to know in the business and all of those wonderful things. But one of the things we oftentimes forget to talk about or we omit is what happens when you don't get the result that you expected to get out of a real estate deal at Porterhouse. How do we deal with that? And so, Caramon, he had, everything that we believe in and putting in place and, with accountability partners, or what I call harassment partners. He had people that was there, to support. That's what we are. We're a family, so we support each other. We go out to each other's open houses and we support each other in door knocking and all kind of things. We believe in team. We believe in family. We believe in all of those things. And as Caramon said, we're an education broker. We believe in learning. We believe in teaching our clients what they need to know about real estate. So Caramon talked about his learning curve. He talked about the ups and downs, and then he talked about the concern and the consternation when he didn't get the offers that he was looking for, but then he, finally got the one he thought was going to go, and then finally got one was even better than that. And today is his settlement date, and this is what we all run this race for. But what we wanted to talk about today, in particular, is what happens when all things that you've tried, everything that we taught you, when it just doesn't work. What happens at Porterhouse? What do we do? What do we believe in? How do we manage that? Well, the first thing you have to know is that, again, we are only in control of the things that we are in control of. And so, in terms of making sure that we are realty pros, that's what we're in control of. You're in control of the scripts, you're in control of your learning, you're in control of being interactive with each other, you're in control of your marketing. We'll give you all the tools that you need, but that's what you're in control of. Okay, when you hand it off, you're almost in control of who you can refer to for a lender or a title company. You know, we try to use people that we know are reliable. You know, we try to use people that have a great track record of success, etc. These are all the things that you are in control of at Porterhouse. But sometimes, and one of the things that I really believe in, and I believe in it wholeheartedly, is doing a great consultation, buyer's consultation with buyers, and a really great listing appointment with listers, because what that does is it sets up the expectations that you have for them as the leader in this in the transaction. And when those things are done well, not only do you manage their expectations, you also can provide for them ways to mitigate obstacles. If you're really astute at it, and once you've done it a while, you can even start to get an idea of what their fears are. And remember, we used to talk about, we still do, I talk about fears, uncertainties, and doubts. And you can then manage them with the features, advantages, and benefits of getting into real estate. So all of those things are so important, because here's what happens. You have a transaction that not only are you involved with, now you done bought in a lender, that's another person. You done bought in a title company, that's another person, another entity. You got the buyer, you got the buyer's spouse, you got the dog, you got all kinds of things moving around, and you kind of trying to manage all of these people through a complex transaction that has different elements with people in time and sensitive and all of those things. And sometimes things just don't go the way you expect them to go. That's just the bottom line. After all that you've done, we want you to know one thing here at Porterhouse. You're realty pros. You're not God. You're not God. And we don't expect you to be God. Now, that being said, another part of the complexity is the contract. And not just the contract between the buyer and seller, but also the contract between the buyer or seller and Porterhouse International Realty Group as it pertains to you, the agent. As you all well know, Jasmine and I believe wholeheartedly in customer service. We believe in it more, than we believe in anything else. For us, though, you guys are our clients. You're the people that we're here to service. But we want you to take what we did to you, because you deserve the best. And we want you to translate that to each and every person that you meet. As a person, then hopefully as a customer, and then eventually as a client, and then as either a buyer or seller of Porterhouse, and then we want you to make them part of our family. Okay, so every time you're doing transaction, there's an opportunity to bring people into the family and all of that. But sometimes things just don't happen the way you expect. Now, here's what Porterhouse, and we want you to understand, we are in business. Yes, we're a family, but more importantly, we want you to be successful in business, and that's what we're here to do. So I wanted to make it perfectly clear, and I know Jasmine is going to chime in as well, that when it comes down to business, we want you to do business. Now, I do business with my family. I do business with my friends, my fraternity brothers and associates, church members, etc. But I do business. We want you to do business. And sometimes doing business is not comfortable. Sometimes you have to have uncomfortable conversations with people you know, like, love, and trust, because it comes to money, people just kind of get a little, I don't know what word I want to use here, but people get a little funny when it comes to spending money on things that they uh, don't believe that they should spend it on. And one of those things, unfortunately, it seems like, is that they decide, well, I don't want to move forward with this process, even though I have a legal agreement to do so. And therefore, I'm going to sabotage my deal and thereby sabotage the responsibility I have to you in this process of commission. And we've seen that happen a number of times in the very recent months. And it's concerning, because what happens then is the agent somehow feels as though it's his or her responsibility that those things have occurred. Well, it's not your responsibility, provided that you've done everything that you're supposed to do according to the contract. And we want you to segregate and separate that emotional reaction, because it's a very easy emotional reaction to take and try to take responsibility for something that really isn't your responsibility. That buyer or seller has a responsibility to perform according to the agreements that they put in writing, that they shared with you, that they wanted. And now you have a written obligation for them. And then if they start to try to retreat despite your warnings, and despite your best efforts to keep them involved in the agreement that they've made, the question becomes, what do you then do? What is your responsibility? I'm going to let Jasmine talk more about that. But we want you to know that when it comes down to that, is loving, and I think you guys think we're loving people and sweet people. We are. We're loving people, sweet people, believers. But we don't want you to allow people to play with your finances, especially when you've met your obligations. And we need to maybe have our attorney, Glenn Russell, come in and teach on one aspect of the contract in particular, but then the contract in general. And that aspect is that in real estate, once you receive a ratified contract, the commission is earned. Now, what we do is like Kermar had a ratified contract, but Kermar is not getting his commission until they go to settlement. But in that same paragraph of your contract, it says that settlement is not a condition for the earning of your commission. In other words, that commission is yours. And 99.9% of real estate transactions, I dare say most people, when they don't go to settlement, they don't pursue a commission. And so that's something that we need to have a further conversation about, how you react at Porterhouse. But I'm going to say this, we've been very successful in securing commissions, even if they don't necessarily go to settlement. And there's ways to do it. Now, what some people would say, well, that's a little bit overstretching, that's overreaching. Well, let me give you a great a really good example of another industry that, regardless of the situation, you have an obligation. They're going to make you continue to pay. I have a close friend right now who bought a brand new car about 2 or 3 years ago. And the car started acting funny. They took it into the shop and they said, hey, you need a brand new transmission. And by the way, the transmission is going to cost you about half as much as you just paid for this car. The person was like, okay, well, does insurance take care of this? Is it under warranty? Nope, it's not under warranty. It's the warranty is null and void. There's nothing you can do except pay us the cash money in order to get the car. Meanwhile, the car is undrivable. It's in the shop. Nobody's going to help it. No warranty, no insurance, no anything. But at the same time, does that mean she doesn't have to make the payments on that car? That she signed in contract to make the payments on, even though they can't drive the car They can't do anything with the car, and nobody's willing to help her with the car. The bank that gave her the loan doesn't care. People that have the car in the shop, they want their money in order to release the car, not for the transmission, at least for the diagnosis. The tow truck company, man, he doesn't care. He wants his money. If you want a car towed from point A to point B, the guy that's saying, hey, you bring it over here, I can give you the transmission for this price. He know he has that person hamstrung. They bring the car over there. Now the price goes up a little bit. Everybody's going to get their money. Now, that's not a really comfortable deal right there. That sounds like something that somehow somebody should be able to get that person, help that person. You know, that's really a bad situation to be in. But my point is, in every single one of those situations, no matter where that car is, that payment still have to be made. Those people still want their money. They feel sorry for you. Feeling sorry for you is not doing good business. They will never be able to stay in business by feeling sorry for people. I'm not saying that we are rude at Porterhouse. I'm not saying that we don't have compassion. I'm not saying we don't have empathy. We'll work with people. We do not ever condone, nor do we want you to let people get over on you as our agents. It breaks our heart. Because in addition to you feeling like you did something wrong, you're not even going to get compensated for it. And that leads to a spiral. And there's hope. There's always hope because you know what? There's a next transaction, the next transaction. But when you get caught up so much and you focus in on this one transaction, it seems so insurmountable. Seems so you get so wrapped up in it, you can't see the light anymore. We want you to stop looking at that dark transaction and focus on the light, and at the same time say, "Hey, you owe me some money, and I'm gonna move on." You got to pull away from that. That's my recommendation. When you ever get in those situations where you feel like the transaction and the light of day is being taken from you, call us. Get some hope. And Porter, we need you to help me. I want my commission on this transaction, or I feel as though we supposed to get commission on this commission. This is not right. Make sure we will fight. We got people. We fight for our commissions. They come few and far between sometimes, and they're hard to get. You deserve them. You did everything you were supposed to do. We're not runners. We're going to stay, and we're going to stay in our ground. Jasmine's going to plant those high-heel shoes in the ground, and she's going to fight for you. Every step of the way, I guarantee it. But what we want you to know is that when we're fighting for you, don't think we're fighting against you because you might be looking at the darkness. We're looking at the light. We're fighting for you. We don't want you to feel like, well, let's just move away. Let's let it go. Well, we can, but then really, is that doing good business? Or are you setting yourself up to be in a vein of that type of activity? And we've seen it happen, and it does not go well. So we've been in situations like that a number of times, and depending on the situation, what we like to pray. We like to take it up to an advisor. We like to talk to people. We get a whole, and then we take the best advice. And if they tell us to dig our heels in and fight, we dig our heels in and we fight. If they say maybe we should let this one go and move on, we let it go and we move on. And we ultimately are going to have your back when all is said and done. If you want to let it go and you just are adamant to let it go, we're going to let it go. But what we know is that you never lose that feeling of being whipped, so to speak. And we just wanted to be transparent because we go through all of these emotions with people. But you're not whipped. It just was a transaction that didn't go right. Let's move on. That's how we're looking at it. But if you're ingrained in it, you know the people, trust me, we know all of the people that we do deals with. We get ingrained and emotional and all that stuff. And sometimes people don't speak to us anymore. But that rarely happens. But it can happen. But you're doing business, so anything can happen. You're taking a risk. That's what an entrepreneur means. And literally, look up the word. It's a French word, risk taker. There's the risk that you take. Okay. You're not going to win every battle, and you're not going to lose them all. You just have to know when to fight, when not to fight. We're going to help you make those determinations, but again, ultimately, we got your back. Don't ever feel like we're not backing you when we're trying to fight for your commission. You want to let that kind of money go, it's like, what are we doing? We work so hard to make sure that you guys are successful. When you have the opportunity, you must seize it. And so I'm on my soapbox. You guys know how I get when I get on my soapbox. I want you to be successful in business. And I want you to be successful in relationships. And there's a way to balance it. And I guarantee you, let me tell you something. I'm going to say this, the last thing I'm going to say, Desmond, I'm getting off the soapbox. When we have stood our ground with those people who love us and know us, and we've done business with them, and something didn't go the way we expected, and we demanded that those people that we love, who are our friends, family members, cousins, I don't care who you are, you owe us, you're going to pay us. We stayed our ground and got the commission. At the end of the day, you know what happens? It's a very strange thing. Those people become your best friends. They'll come to you and say, I just thought I can get a family break or what have you. But I respect your business now. Those are the people that start sending you referrals out of left field and right field and talking highly of you. Oh, they are professional. Oh, they don't play. Because we didn't play with them when they were trying to play with us. So people see that you're not going to lose anything by just letting a person go who knows that they owe you a commission or owe you money. You don't lose anything by letting them go because they just demand that you let them go when you have a contract that says, no, you must pay. You gain more by making them pay. They respect your business. They respect you as a business person. And then the funny thing is those are the people that sing your praises. So these are hard lessons to learn, family, but we're doing real business. And we're about to start to do some really real business. I sent over the WhatsApp some hints of things that are to come because we need to start to develop our investment portion of the brokerage because it's going to be a very lucrative thing to happen in the next months and years as this economy changes. You guys have to position yourself. I started talking about your credit. I started talking about all of these other things. But I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot of money on the line. And if we're not tough enough to demand what's rightfully ours, we might as well not get into investment game because it gets tough out there. We're looking to build some tough people that's going to, say, hey, we're going to go all the way, and you're going to pay. It's too much money for us to be investing. We're not investing to lose money. Nobody does that. You're investing to make money and to secure legacy for your family. So what I'm saying is we have to stop wearing our emotions on our sleeves when it comes to people that know that they owe us. Ensure that we are doing business, we are handling business, we are business people, and that people respect the business that we do, and we can still love them at the same time.
Thank you so much for those words of encouragement, Mr. Porter. That is essential. Guys, I hope you will take that, even replay this video and take it to heart because you are real estate professionals. your Porterhouse Realty Pros, you are business owners yourselves. Mr. Porter started out this year talking about your credit, establishing an actual entity, building your business credit, doing all these things, because our goal is truly to position you guys as business owners and successful business owners. So you're going to have quite a number of opportunities within your real estate transactions where some things are going to go the way you want them to go, and thank God for them. But like Mr. Porter said, what do you do when you're in a transaction and things don't go the way that you wanted them to go? You have to embrace the things that you can control, and the things that you can't control. Don't feel like those things are your fault. When you have an agreement to receive commission, you have to stand by that agreement to receive commission. Just like when you have a contract between the buyer and the seller for the buyer to perform, that buyer has to perform, or they are in financial debt to the seller for their earnest money deposit. When that buyer has a contract between the lender that states that that buyer is going to make that mortgage payment, if that buyer doesn't perform, then they have an obligation to the lender that they're going to pay them with the whole house. The lender is going to take the whole house back if the buyer does not meet their end of that agreement. The same thing too goes for our buyer clients and our seller clients. Like Mr. Porter said, oftentimes when you're dealing with people in this area of finances, it's really going to help to filter out certain things, if you will. Some people are going to operate in the highest level of integrity, and they're going to meet their financial obligations. They're going to be transparent, but it doesn't always happen that way. When you're trying to hold somebody responsible to a debt that they owe and they're supposed to pay, people don't always, come to the carpet in integrity. Oftentimes people will try to make you out to be the bad guy if you have an agreement that says that they're supposed to perform certain functions and they're supposed to pay a certain expense. What Mr. Porter is saying, you have got to, as professionals, we have got to get to the point where we do not wear our emotions on our sleeves, but you honor the agreement that you have with those clients just as well as you honor the client. You honor them with excellent customer service. You cater to them however need be to create the full Porterhouse experience. And when you get to the end of the road, if by chance they, decide, well, you know what, I'm not going to move forward, or whatever the case happens, you still need to be paid as a real estate professional. So like Mr. Porter said, when you get that ratified contract or that ratified lease, you have earned your commission. It's due and payable at that point. The fact that it's deferred until settlement is just out of convenience for the client, but that's not the point at which, you have to get paid. So I say that because you guys, you're about to start doing some really serious business. Some of you already are, and you will, because it's a product of human nature. You will come across some people who just don't want to pay you for the work that you've done. It's inevitable. A lot of people will, some people won't. And what are you going to do when you get in the midst of a transaction and the client decides, I don't want to pay you? What are you going to do? And what Mr. Porter is saying for all of us to do is make sure that we stand our ground. We operate in integrity. We operate in honor for them and honor for the contract. And we're not going to allow them to take advantage of us as real estate professionals and try to walk away without you guys getting paid. So, from that perspective, know that we are going to support you, know that we're going to have your back. Like Mr. Porter said, there are going to be some instances where we're going to go all the way. So whatever that looks like is what we're going to do to make sure that you get paid. And then every now and again, there may be an instance where we say, you know what, it's not even worth it, depending on the amount there is at stake. So talk to us, allow us to support you. We're going to be there to have your back. And most of all, you've got to know that you are worth the commission that is on your brokerage agreement. On the listing side and on the purchase side, you are worth it. And that $795, that nominal brokerage expense that we give back to you guys as a retainer, you are worth way more than that. If for those of you that are licensed in DC, you look at that G-Car contract, there's a place there for a retainer fee because it's common practice at other places for you to get your retainer fee up front, and that is non-refundable because you're doing business as a professional. And I love something that Mr. Porter shared. One of our close friends that we did business with, that particular person, they tried to pull the family and friends discount thing at the end. And Shay called me and he said, Jasmine, if you do not collect your full commission from this person, they will never respect you as a professional. They'll like you, they'll be happy with you as a person, but as a professional, they'll never respect you and they won't do business with you again. So just like he said there, my heart was a little bit on my sleeve because of the relationship that we had with the person. So I said, you know what? I thought about it. I said, you know what? He's right. So we went back and said, hey, we appreciate you. We honor you. This is what our agreement is. This is what's due. And this is what we expect to get paid. And as a result, that person respects us as professionals. We've all got to get to that point. You guys have got to get to the point that you're doing business. You have something, Mr. Porter?
Not only that, that person has bought more property with Porterhouse than anybody else that we know. As a result of Jasmine standing around, and this was before I was in the real estate game. This was a person who I've known for 20 years. And I said, if you don't collect all your money from that person, he'll never respect you as a professional. And she really wanted to let it go. And she was a little upset. And she finally heard me. She made the phone call. I even think they went back and forth a little bit. But at the end of the day, he said, how do you want me to pay it? How do you want me to pay it? And so she got her money. And I'm laughing because I know this person. I know how people are. We, on the other side, people, man, I got over on those people. We know how the people are. And I know this person. I know how people are, and I know how he looks at business. So I said that to her, and that's all I could say. But she did. She went after it. But as a result, he started sending us clients and agents, and he wanted to invest with us when we opened Porterhouse. He bought so many properties after that with us. It's a wonderful thing to see what happens when people respect you, because if you're not going to fight for your own money, this is what real multi-millionaires, this is one of the profound things when we used to sit with these millionaires, we used to hear certain things over and over again. If you're not going to fight for your own money, what are you going to do with mine? You're going to give it all away? You're not a good banker. You're not a good business person. You want to give away your own money? I don't know if I want to invest with you, Mr. Porter. You're giving away your own money. What you going to do with mine? I got to tell this last story, Jasmine, then I'm going to be quiet. I promise.
Go ahead.
I remember also, and we got to share these things with you guys to encourage you, because we don't want you to think that you're going through something that we haven't already been through. And we've gone through all of the emotions and all of that, and we've had to put it in place. Okay, when we start business, these are the things we're going to have to share with our agents. I remember sitting at one of our first deals. It was a big deal. And this person was a close person to me, almost like family. And I remember we were at the settlement table, Caramon, at the settlement table. And they're signing all the documents, and they knew what the commission was, and they knew everything. And they saw, and it wasn't Porterhouse at the time, it was another brokerage. They saw the brokerage, and they saw the commission amount, and they stopped signing. And they looked at me and said, how much of this are you getting? It was like, I said, that's the commission. I said, that's the commission. And it was like, they were disappointed. They were like, if I'd have known that's how much you were making, I mean, talked about that. We're family. We're close. I mean, they really, literally knew everything about the commission. They knew, they just didn't calculate how much 3% was in their brain. And so when they got to that part, they literally had a moment where they didn't want, because they knew me, they didn't feel like, because, when you're familiar with people, you almost feel like you want to keep them and put them in a place. And that's how I felt, like you're trying to put me in a place like where you think I should be. But you knowing how much you make on your job, now you're looking at how much I'm making on mine, and you're wondering what you're doing wrong. So now you're like, I don't know if I want to give you this much money. You're not giving me anything. This is what I've earned. This is my commission. I pulled them aside, and we talked. Went back in, they signed a deal, and we were good friends afterwards. And they wanted to get in real estate. So you're going to have those uncomfortable moments, people. There's nothing we can do about it except prepare you for them. You cannot let those things dissuade you from pursuing real estate or being a good real estate agent or being a business person. That's part of business. It's a big part of business to get past the emotional. We're all human. So you have to have a character that's a business person. And then I can come home and I can cry, and I cry with Jasmine, when I come home. If Caramon hurt my feelings or something, I come home and cry with Jasmine. So we have to learn how to move through them, get past them, and continue to do business. So we've been doing this for a while, guys. It's pretty much no situation that you can imagine that we haven't been involved in personally or have had to help people through it. So that being said, you have some people here that are going to hold your hand. We're going to go to bat for you. We're going to fight when it's time to fight, and we're going to tell you, like my man used to say in the country song, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and when to run. That's what we're going to help you do. But don't think we're trying to coach you guys into being the bad guy. We want to coach you into being good business people, which sometimes might make you feel like the bad guy, but no, that's just a feeling. And from a business perspective, your commission.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Porter. Take hold of what Shay is saying to you guys today. If you have not faced this type of situation yet, grab this, put it in your back pocket, because one day you will. If you stay in real estate long enough, you will understand exactly what Mr. Porter is talking about. And we have had our fair share of conversations just to that end. But remember, you are a real estate professional. You are providing a tremendously valuable service to your clients. You are in customer service. You help them through contracts and wait on them hand and foot to usher them into the things that they've been dreaming and believing for, whether it's the purchase or sale or investment aspect. And as a business owner and a real estate professional, you earn your commission. So a person is not giving you anything. You're not asking for a handout. No more than a person going to a doctor's office or an attorney's office or some other professional that's paid like we are. You earn your commission, and you need to make sure that you stand by what it is that you earned. So that is where we wanted to encourage you guys today to do good business. Because like Mr. Porter said, if people see that you don't even value your own, they won't even value yours. If people see that you treat your own finances haphazardly, they're not going to value it, and they're going to try to get over on you. Okay. So just know that even with attorneys, some attorneys will try to intimidate you, but we're not intimidated. We're not intimidated by anybody as long as we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And that's one thing that is required at Porterhouse of all of us. All of us, you honor the agreements that you make with people. And as long as we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing according to that agreement, then we will stand our ground and we will fight our fight, and we will do what we need to do to support you guys in this business. So honor your clients, honor yourselves, honor your families, because that's why you got into real estate, whether it's for your financial freedom, legacy, wealth, or whatever those things are. Just be committed to the process. And when things happen and you have to make adjustments in your transaction or whatever the case may be, just stand flat-footed, move forward, and do what you need to do, knowing that there's a tremendous harvest on the other side for you. Okay. At this point, I'm going to ask for questions or comments. And now it's your guys' turn. Don't be shy, guys. Don't be shy. I know you have some thoughts.
I think they all ran away. This was a tough conversation.
Well, Miss Porter, you know, I always have something I can say, and I kind of want to piggyback on something that Mr. Porter said, and I'll try to say this very quickly because this is something Mr. Porter taught me. I had a client who was a family friend guy, and he wanted to buy. He was on the buying side, and he wanted to look at buying a house. And so I did the buyer's consultation. As a matter of fact, Mr. Porter did it for me. He asked me a few questions while we were there, and I chimed in. But the key was the $795, and the guy wanted to find out why he had to pay the $795 up front. And I'm like you, Ms. Porter, you know, I started getting, you know, on my sleeve. I was like, well, you know, you, and Mr. Porter jumped in and said, because that's the brokerage fee and that's the cost of doing business. And so the gentleman did. Now, mind you, I was taking them out to show him houses. It was over an hour and a half away from where I lived, all the way up in Maryland, someplace I had never been, Hanover, someplace past it. So I did that a few times just to show him houses back and forth. At the end of the day, he decided not to go forward because he had a falling out with the lender. And he said the lender and him just didn't see eye and eye. So he said he wasn't going to use me because he didn't like the lender. If I had not, and if Mr. Porter hadn't made me stick to my guns to get the $795, I would have done all of that work, went to all of those places and everything, and got nothing for it. And it made me realize that a workman is worthy of his hire, and that it was very important because we're professionals that we have to be a professional all the way through the transaction. And sometimes that's a hard thing to do when you're talking about money with people who you're friends with or friendly with or what have you. But I'm so glad I did it. As a matter of fact, after he paid the $795, because of all the stuff I did, he sent me $50 on Cash App because he felt bad because I was doing all this running around. So before it ended, I had gotten $845. He didn't go further with me. He went and got a house someplace else. But at least because I would have had a bad taste in my mouth. He would, every time I saw him at the family barbecue, it would have been a problem. And but because of that, and because we did the professional, and he was able to look me in the eye, and I was able to look him in the eye, and there was no hard feelings because I got compensated for what I did. At least my gas and all that stuff was covered. So I would tell anyone, if you're going to be a professional, you have to be a professional all the way through. I had another situation, and I'll talk about this next week after we finish the closing, because this is on the listing side. So I have to tell you, I have to share with you, Ms. Porter, especially because my heart got all into this because it was a friend of my mom's, and my mom is deceased, and I'm thinking, oh, mommy would want me to do this. So I'll tell you all about that later. But this was the one that made me realize that you must get your $795 up front. You must be a professional all the way through the transaction. That's all.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that, Kermon. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share?
I did put something in the chat. You're muted, Mrs. Porter.
I'm reading what you have in the chat. Dee said, is there anything that you can do when the seller says that they do not have the right to sell a property to you, especially just before the closing date? So we can talk about that in a little bit more detail. That is slightly different than the conversation that we're having right now, because I would have a ton of questions to ask as it pertains to that, such as the seller. Who is the seller? Is the seller an entity? Are they a person? Is it an estate sale? Is it a bank sale? Is it an investor sale? Is it somebody selling through probate? Is it an investment purchase? You know, do they have LLC documents, so forth and so on. So there are so many different questions that I would have to ask in order to be able to answer that question for you. It won't have the space today, but that's a good question. So we can go through that. Okay, Dee?
Fine, thank you.
You got it. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments or anything with regards to what Mr. Porter and I have shared today?
Hi, this is Angela. Can you guys hear me?
Hello, Angela.
Hi. I just have a comment. I guess generally speaking, I think that the subject we're talking about is something that especially as we're newer agents, it can be very uncomfortable. And I think when I joined Porterhouse, this was something I had discussed with Jasmine regarding some things that made me uncomfortable. But I think that it's okay to be uncomfortable with some of these things. And I like that we're talking about it because it makes it a little bit more familiar. And, I think I've talked about objection handling and things like that. And I think this is kind of what this is. It's a little bit of a, to value yourselves as an entrepreneur, but at the same time, these are not easy conversations to have for some. And the more we talk about this, I don't know, I just think it'll be less uncomfortable. And like I said, generally speaking, I just think that, it's, I don't know. I just feel like I'm glad we're having the conversation. There are lots of things I'm uncomfortable with, and I do talk to Jasmine about it, and she makes it so that I understand things a little better and can approach things differently, looking at things from a different perspective. So even though I'm still uncomfortable in areas, I'm just glad that we're talking about this.
You hit it, Angela, spot on. The more you do it, the more comfortable you become with it. And a lot of times with the situation, if it's your first or your second time, or sometimes even your third time, you may just be naturally uncomfortable with it until you've done it enough to just develop that muscle.
Okay, so I believe that you developed the muscle, but I still feel uncomfortable. I mean, I just have to deal with it. I'm uncomfortable, but I deal with it from having gone through it. I continue to be uncomfortable. But that's just one of those things that, that comes with the business. So it comes with the business, and you do it, and you make sure you get paid.
Yeah.
There you go. You work through it while you're uncomfortable.
And can I say,
Jasmine,
can I?
Yeah, Anita,
Oh.
real quick, I was gonna say I do. For those of you that have to go, we know you have to go, but after the recording goes off, I did want to share one more thing with you guys after the recording is over. So that's all I was gonna say. Go ahead, Anita.
So I was gonna also, I'm feeling, I guess, like Angela is feeling. But I appreciate too the reminder to us of our worth, because sometimes I think in business, people can perhaps and especially close friends and family members, as if though you owe them something, and we do, and owe them something, but that something that we owe them comes at a cost. And so thank you, for also just reminding us of our worth, because I think probably those are the people, well, for me, those are the people that it is most uncomfortable to, kind of really just stand your ground and say, because when you went into the situation, you gave them the details as to, what the process was going to look like, what the cost was going to be to them. And so once you're finished, that process, it does not change, because at that point you've performed. So thank you again for that.
That was so good, Anita. You said the key word, you have performed. And once you have performed your role, you have earned your commission. So I'm going to say, Anita, you can go ahead and end the recording there, and we'll hang on for just a few more minutes in case anybody else has anything they'd like to share, any questions, or specifics. We can go ahead and dive into that. But if there's anybody that needs to leave, we understand. We appreciate you guys being on the line. We respect your time. We'll end the recording now. And if you need to leave, then go ahead by all means, and we'll continue.
I was just